All right, here are 5 reasons why, if you want to be successful in life, if you want to build a successful business, that you need to start playing chess. Yes, chess. And I'm not just talking about chess at the level that you were probably taught when you were a kid. You know, you're taught how to move the pieces. You're taught how they capture each other. You might even be taught en passant, right? You might be taught some of the esoteric rules of the game. But I'm talking about learning how to play chess at a high level. If you want to become a great strategic thinker, which I think is one of the most powerful skills that you can develop as an entrepreneur, you need to learn chess. This is the game that's going to help you develop it. I'm going to list out 5 of the skills that you're going to develop as a chess player that are going to serve you in all domains of life. But just a real quick refresher, if you don't know, I grew up playing chess ever since I was a little boy. It was an activity that my dad taught me how to play, despite the fact that I had also recently been diagnosed with ADHD. It was a weird dichotomy. On the one hand, people were telling me, Anthony can't sit still and can't focus and can't pay attention. On the other side, my dad would come home from, he was in the army, so he was gone a lot, but he'd come home and we'd spend our time playing chess. That's how we would connect at that point. And so people telling me you can't focus, can't concentrate, can't sit still. And then my dad forcing me to play this game that kind of requires all those things. And I became pretty good at chess. I won the South Dakota State Chess Championship in 9th grade. I won the Governor's Cup later that year. I retired a couple years later from competitive chess and got back into it later in life. And I would say I'm probably an advanced recreational player, rated somewhere between 1900 and 2000 ELO. And one of my lifelong goals is to become a national master, which requires me just to gain another 200 points in tournament play. So I'll keep you posted on how that goes. All that's to say, play chess at a fairly high level. So here's 5 things that you're going to learn from playing more chess. And I'm not just talking about going and playing online chess against random people. I'm talking about actually getting a coach, getting somebody to teach you how to think through the game, the different phases, think strategically, think deeply. So number 1, the very first thing that you're going to learn as a chess player is how to plan, how to create a plan of attack, how to create a strategy. Because as the great world champion Garry Kasparov said, tactics is knowing what to do when there is something to do. Strategy is knowing what to do when there is nothing to do. And so the way I think about this is your employees are deploying the tactics. There is something to do. Go deliver this product to this customer, go market this thing. The strategy is knowing what to do when there is nothing to do, which is the high level vision of the company. How am I allocating resources? How am I moving people towards an invisible goal? How am I creating the structure that would move us forward? That's a very hard skill to do that most people actually don't have the ability to do. So planning is one of those skills you will learn through chess, and you will get immediate reinforcement and feedback as to how well you are able to execute your plan. Because the other person across the table, they have their own plan for you, right? That gets to the second thing you're going to learn. You're going to learn how to read minds. Okay, maybe not read minds specifically. I can't read your thoughts. But if we sit down at a chessboard, I can figure out what my plan is. But I also need to understand what's your plan. Because my plan is only as good as it is in context to your plan, right? You might have a better plan. Your plan might spoil my plan. My plan might not work because of this aspect of your plan. I need to be able to see what you're working towards. And that requires me to embody your position. It requires me to see the world through your eyes. Can you see how that might be a valuable skill? Can you imagine how valuable of a skill it would be to see the world through the eyes of your customers? To understand what do they want, what are their plans, what are their wants and wishes and dreams for their lives. To put yourself into their shoes and see the world through their eyes, that is critical. To be able to do it with your competitors or with your employees. The ability to adopt somebody else's perspective and move through the world imagining that you are them, that is a priceless skill that chess will teach you how to develop. Number 3. And these 3 are kind of all linked, right? Planning, mind reading, and then visualization. Visualization is the ability to sit at a board with 64 squares, 32 white, 32 black, to be able to calculate and hold in your head the relative position of 16 pawns, 4 bishops, 4 knights, 4 rooks, 2 queens, 2 kings. What happens when I move this pawn to that square, you move that pawn to this square, then I move my knight to this square, your bishop comes out, my rook comes forward, your 5 moves in. You have to be able to hold that in your mind to be able to visualize what's happening on the board so that you can see how your plan will play out. That is a surprisingly difficult skill to develop. You'll hear people talk about how grandmasters have the ability to see 20 moves ahead. That's bullshit. No grandmaster can see 20 moves ahead, right? They are incredibly good, though, at seeing 5 to 7 moves ahead. And that is the sweet spot. Sometimes I can calculate out to 10 to 12 moves. Like in certain positions, that's not that difficult. When there's fewer pieces on the board, you can calculate pretty far. But in the middle of the game, when all the pieces are on the board, most people are really only going to be able to calculate deeply for 7 to 9 moves, right? Having the ability to hold a position in your mind, to visualize it, to see it in your imagination, can you imagine how powerful that would be for things like, well, if we do this, what's the market going to do? If we change that workflow, how's that going to affect this department over here, right? Being able to imagine the impact of our activities without actually having to do them is a skill that separates us from the animals, because we can go through in our mind's eye the consequences and probabilities of our activities before we do it. So I don't need to jump off the cliff to know what's likely to happen. I can calculate it out, right? The more that we use that skill, the better developed it becomes. And in chess, you're using it constantly. And so your mind's going to become razor sharp. Number 4, you are going to learn the skill of concentration. And that's an obvious one, right? The ability to sit and focus for long periods of time is paramount. I think what a lot of people underestimate when it comes to the idea of focus and concentration is how energy intensive it is. A chess player in a world championship match will burn 10,000 calories. 10,000 calories in a single game. That's insane. And all they're doing is sitting and thinking, because thinking burns energy. It burns an immense amount of energy. You could not, I promise you right now do not have the ability to concentrate hard enough for long enough to burn 10,000 calories. They are elite athletes. It might not seem like it, but the ability to sit and concentrate for those periods of time, that is an elite skill. But you can move towards that. You can start to develop that ability by sitting and playing chess and spending hours. Not talking about bullet or blitz. I'm talking about spending an hour for each person. And that match can take 2-3 hours total to sit and think deeply about a position and stay present with it. It's an incredibly valuable skill. And I'm so grateful that my dad believed enough in me when I was a kid to sit me down and teach me chess, because everybody else was saying he doesn't have this ability. And it proved to me, though it would require many years later for me to look back and realize, like, oh, I didn't know it, but that was focus, that was concentration, because it meant so much to me. I found so much enjoyment in the game of chess that it didn't feel like work, right? For you coming into it now, it might feel like work, but hey, that's a good thing, right? It's like going to the mental gym to do some mental weightlifting. That's how we strengthen the muscle. So concentration is the 4th skill. Number 5 and final. This is the last thing that you'll learn from chess. Nothing else. Just kidding. Okay, there's a lot of lessons, but this one's the hard one for me, is patience. Chess will teach you patience, because in the game, often there will be these times when you're pretty sure you've calculated out your plan to perfection, and all that's left is to execute it. And now you have to sit and you have to stay present and not make a mistake in the meantime. You have to remain patient. You can't overextend yourself. You can't get distracted even when the game is all but won. I'll tell you this. I won the South Dakota State Chess Championship. In the final match, I was losing. I had dropped a rook. I made a blunder. And at that level of game, it's game over. I should have resigned. But I never resign. I fight until the very end, because that's just how I was trained. And I kept playing, and I kept believing that maybe, just maybe, I could get back into the game. And sure enough, the other guy mentally lapsed, and he made a mistake, and he blundered. And it's an important lesson in life. It's not about who blunders most. It's about he who blunders last. Whoever blunders last loses. So you can blunder 3 times, but as long as they blunder last, you win. And so stay in the game, stay present, stay patient, stay fighting all the way through. That's the beauty of chess. And those are 5 skills that this game will teach you. I highly encourage you pick it up, because it has has been one of the great gifts of my life and one of my true joys. And so anything I can help do to spread more awareness to the game, get more people involved, so that you also can develop all these skills, which I think will help you in all aspects of your life. So that's going to do. Oh, actually, I'm curious. If you play chess, take a screenshot, DM it to me, or share it on Instagram. Tag me, the Anthony Vicino. Let me know what your handle is, where you play, and maybe I'll ping you for a match. So that's going to do it for me, guys. I'll see you in the next episode.